Welcome to Small Bites, Sound Bites, a weekly segment of the Food for Thought podcast in which I share short, succinct responses to typical questions and myths and misconceptions related to compassionate living. Thanks so much for your support of this podcast, keeping it ad-free. You can enjoy perks and join our community of supporters at patreon.com/Colleen Patrick-Goudreau, or just go right to joyfulvegan.com/donate. Today, the topic I want to address is the assertion that what we eat is a personal choice and that we don't want to be told what to eat. Many people see their food choices as being very personal, and they certainly don't want to be told what to eat by vegans. They don't want to be told that they're not allowed to choose what they want to eat or how to live. And it's something that I want to address today. Now, first of all, it has to be said that we are being told what to eat all the time. The messages we get, especially from the industries that benefit financially, the messages we get are so ingrained in us, and we're so used to, kind of the advertising and the marketing, that we actually believe that eating meat, dairy, and eggs is a neutral position, but to be vegan is to take a position or to be biased or to have an agenda. Eating meat is not neutral. It is a position. It's just status quo. But just because a position is status quo doesn't mean it's not a position. So it's still a position, right? Because we have this notion that vegans have an agenda. Well, we all have an agenda. We all have a position. We all have a bias. Just because a bias is status quo doesn't mean it's not a bias, but it's a real testament to the marketing of the meat, dairy, and egg industries that have made us believe that they have our best interest at heart, but if a vegan comes along, they have an agenda in a way that's actually harmful. So that's the first thing I really want to say. The second thing I want to say is, as far as personal choice goes, the problem with this justification, eating meat is my personal preference, is that it assumes there's no victim. It assumes there's no other. It implies that the meat eater's desires or traditions or culture or taste buds are superior to anything or anyone else, and that because of this, he or she is absolved from the harm that eating meat or dairy or eggs causes. But it doesn't hold water. As a society, we collectively decide that certain behaviors and certain actions and certain personal preferences are inappropriate or morally reprehensible or harmful, especially when they cause injury to someone else. I mean, if you just think about what abusive parents say or abusive spouses say when they're accused of child abuse or spousal abuse, they often protest that it's nobody else's business how they treat their child or their wife or their husband, that people shouldn't meddle into their affairs and that they can do what they like in their own home. And there was a time when the law protected those people and those practices, but that's no longer the case. We've created laws to make domestic abuse and child abuse illegal and punishable. Now, when it comes to animal abuse, individual abuse in the home or systematic abuse in any of the animal exploitation industries, just name it, the difference is that it's status quo. The difference is that it's become the norm. But just because billions of animals are being hurt and killed for us to use and eat them, or have them perform for us, or have them be used as research tools, it doesn't mean it's not abuse. It doesn't mean it's not violent or that there's not pain or torment. It's just that it's systemic. It's just that it's status quo. We're kind of used to it, right? The animals whose bodies we have hidden away, whose bodies we've locked up, we've penned up, we've used up, we cut up for our own enjoyment, for our own personal taste, for our own preference, because of our own habits, they're no different than the victims of domestic abuse, even dogs and cats, right? Who, if they had a choice, if they had a voice, they would choose not to be tormented. They would choose not to be used or trapped or killed. So when we take away the choice of another and then use that as a license to hurt or kill, we're participating in an egregious act of cruelty, whether we do it ourselves or we pay others to do it for us. We only tell ourselves that our personal choice is our own business, our own preference, so that we can sleep soundly at night and so that we don't feel like we're contributing to violence against anybody else. But it's like if someone were to say it's my personal choice to drink alcohol. Yes, It is true. It is your personal choice to drink alcohol. I have no problem with that. But I do have a problem with someone saying it's my personal choice to drink and drive. No. 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 You could say, well, we all have the choice to do anything we want, but that doesn't mean there aren't consequences to doing anything we want. It doesn't mean that it's legal, and it doesn't mean that it's harmless, right? So your right to throw your fist ends at my face. It ends at my nose. So just as there is potential harm when you drink and drive, there are potential innocent victims who would suffer because of your desire to do whatever you want. There's more than potential harm when we decide we want to eat animals. There is definite, inevitable, baked in harm to the animals whose bodies we use and abuse and take the life out of for our own pleasure. Just because we've developed a desire to eat them or a taste for their flesh and fluids, it doesn't mean we're exonerated because we say, no, that's a personal choice. It's my personal preference to do whatever I want. Don't tell me what to do. A choice made from personal preference might be the color I paint my bathroom, the kind of car I buy, the way I style my hair. But once there's harm, once there's a victim, it's not personal anymore. A personal choice to hurt someone else, that doesn't come out looking like a very pleasant credo to live by. But because millions of people do live by it, billions of animals unnecessarily suffer and die by it year in and year out, day in and day out. It just seems to me that we can make another choice, a choice that doesn't hurt ourselves or anybody else. And I know that making a change is difficult. I know that changing habits is hard. That's why I do the work that I do. That's why I have a 30-day vegan challenge. But let's at least not get comfortable in excuses that we use such that we don't change our behavior, or we're not even open to the possibility of changing it so that we could live according to our own values of compassion and kindness and wellness. Thanks, everybody. If you like what you heard, please share it with others. Please leave a review. Please follow this podcast, and you can support it at joyfulvegan.com/donate. You can pick the perks you would like to have. You can become part of our community by going over to patreon.com/Colleen Patrick-Goudreau, or like I said, just going over to joyfulvegan.com/donate. Until next time, for the animals, this is Colleen Patrick-Goudreau. Thanks for listening.